What's up, you guys? My name is Wolf, and welcome back to LEGO Arts. It's been a long time since I've done one of these showcases, and I decided to go ahead and take a break from gaming for a bit and get back into the flow of things of making custom figures. So, in the previous episode, we did a showcase on the Mandalorian Wave 3. So, for this episode, I decided to go back to one of my old project themes for the series, and that is LEGO Five Nights at Freddy's. This time, we are looking at a showcase based off of the new game that came out, Security Breach. Pretty brief. So for this one, we have the main cast with Gregory, Freddy Fazbear, Montgomery Gator, Glamorous Chica, Roxanne Wolf, Vanessa, and Vani. These guys took quite a while to do, as I was jumping back and forth between doing this, as well as the Dark Knight trilogy, the Spider-Man No Way Home, the Batman, and a couple of other stuff. But I was able to get these guys done, and I figured out you know what, to get back into the series, let's start off with these guys. So if you guys aren't familiar with the whole drill, we're basically going to take these minifigures one at a time, do review them, explain my process, why I went this route, and then go from there. So, without further ado, let's get the pedestal out and get the showcase on the road. So to start our showcase off, we have Freddy Fazbear, or Glamorous Freddy. So this Freddy was definitely a different approach from the last Freddy that I did, as with that one, it was sort of a basic idea of how to approach it, but just do a base paint of brown, add in the detailing, and the only difficult part really was like the face. This one had similarities with that, but it definitely stepped up a bit. So for starters off, like when first approaching the figure, like one of the first things that I did was take care of the sculpting for the head, like all of the sculpting was like done at once, but the other ones were done in like components, and I'll explain that further on as I go. His hat I definitely wanted to make smaller than the previous one because the other ones like him and Goldie had like really big hats, and I didn't like it for this one, so I wanted to make his hat like smaller, so I'm glad that it came out better. There, the torso, like with the painting up, to continue on for the full base paint. He's paint like, as you can see, he's got his black bow tie, the stomach hatch for where Gregory would go inside to walk around and control him through that. That's and then like on the sides over here, we got some detailing more on the hands, painting up more on the hands. I went with a full paint up with the hands like normally I wouldn't, especially on the insides. But since this figure doesn't really like hold anything except like maybe his microphone stand, instead when he's performing on the stage, there wasn't really a whole full worry that like the paint would chip off. So I kept it up, ended up like as I went there. The rest, and some of the detailing was like done with the marker. Like the marker, as you can see, like it goes like from the torso and continues all the way onto the back, and onto the back portion. Not really a whole lot on the back. And I think that was pretty much the most difficult task with each of these characters was I couldn't find any clear images of like their backs to get an idea of what they would look like. So that was probably the hardest part for each of these guys. But I was able to work my way around it and continue on with like the rest of the detailing. The legs were pretty simple as well, like just based it up with the orange, and then went back and added in like the red leggings, and then like painted out like his feet, these little blue tally marks represent like his claws. As I almost added them onto the hands as well, but since they're at the very tip, they'd be very tiny, and wouldn't look quite as good. So I went ahead and skipped with that, and with detailing wise, probably his face was like was the most difficult of it all. Because I really had to be very precise with how I would approach that, especially with the eyes. You can see of like, like the way how it looks is like it was a very tedious process to try and paint each of these eyes on. I first like painted on like, of course, like the face paint. He's painted with the red, and then went back in with the blue, but then had to carefully paint on each of the eyes, including adding with the white paint. White paint, for some reason, is evil to minifigures. I don't know why. It just is. And then went back in with like the blue irises, and then carefully added in a black dot for the pupil. I decided to go ahead with, and finally to like close it off, I decided to go ahead with a closed mouth for this one. Because like I'm still practicing with like open mouth stuff, especially adding in teeth, and I'll talk about that one later on for one of the other characters. But I feel like the closed mouth worked pretty well for Freddy. And overall, I really like this. Like, I like the new look that they gave Freddy. Like, it adds like more detailing. It definitely goes away from like his original like core design. but I think that's okay. Like, it's a new approach. It's more creative, and it gives a chance to give it a more like artistic approach to it. So overall, I kind of like it. Next up on our list, we have Glamorous Chica. Her design, I feel like, is very similar to Funtime Chica's design from Fnaf 6, but with a more rock and roll mix to it. When it came to like doing the sculpting work for this one, I actually did this one in different components. So I first like sculpted up the base head, then went back in with the detailings with like the beak and added in like the streaks of hair, and then finished off with adding in the earrings and then the bow, and then like the big bow on top, and it came out pretty good. I actually like how the sculpting like in the end came out, and with the paintwork and we're getting into it, it's definitely came out much better than I was expecting ending it to come out. But overall, like going back more to the paint itself, I based this with a white base paint, which took quite a while to do, and then went back in, added in the outlining, and then completed up with like the other colors for like completing it. So on the back, again, I went with like what I assumed what the back would look like, because I couldn't find a good angle to get like her backside, and then like on the sides over here you can see like like she's got the arm design similar to Freddy, but swapped up the colors a bit. There's a bit, there's a bit. Same thing with the legs. The legs I really like how they're a bit different from the others. Like she's got two different kinds of like leggings, and her feet I just painted up with orange to represent like her webbed feet. And feet I went back in with various like different types of pink, like the lighter pink and pink for her chest plate, and for the waist, and for like the waist plate down below, and then like for her torso, I mixed together like a bunch of purples with pink to like get that coloration that was about closest as I could get with how she looks like in the game. Looks like in the game, and then like for the rest of her head, and similar with Freddy, I broke it up into different parts. Like for the eyes, I first did like I had to at least do like one eyeshadow over her right eye, and was able to like line it up with how it would look like. I then did two separate blacks. You can kind of see like I did like the marker for like the eye, for like the outline of the eye, and then went back with a regular acrylic black and lightly painted on, like her eyelashes, with a push pin, and then just like with Freddy, and he carefully had to paint on the eyes as well as like the pupil. You probably can't even see the pupil that well because it blends in with the purple, but it's there. The mouths I feel like are hard things for me to paint on, regardless if it's a cartoon character or trying to base off of a real life character. That's why I haven't attempted to like paint it on faces yet, because it's very tedious work. The mouth, I don't hate it, but I felt like it could have been done a little bit better. A little bit better. I did at least manage to paint on the lips better than I have at previous attempts with characters. I will admit though, this eyebrow like on her left eye is a little bit wonky, and that was because I didn't fully size up with the bow itself, and the realization did not come to me until after everything was already painted on, and it was too late for me to go back and fix it. So I just did what I could to try and match it up. It's not perfect, but it is better. It is better than how it would have looked initially. And then finally, like over here with her earrings, I painted up in a metallic green like on the sides to fully complete the look. And yeah, overall, like while there are a couple of changes that I would have fixed up here and there, and probably should have done a better job of at least painting up the rest of the torso to match it up all the way. I still think this came out pretty alright. Next up on our list is Roxanne Wolf, or Roxy as she's called in the game. For this one, I feel like this one had some of the most sculpting work that I've done like for FNAF characters, specifically with the head. For the head design, like what I did was like with Chica, I broke it up into components. Like I first did the base head, then like using my fingers, I brought out sort of like the sides of her heads to like match up with the shape design. I then also sculpted on the snouts all separately, I released same thing with the ears, and then with the hair, it was done in various components, especially on the back. On the back here, you could see like I took like bits of clay and just sculpted on and just like applied it on like one at a time all the way around to get like the design that she has in the game. This gave me flashbacks to when I was working on Kingdom Hearts characters, especially for like Sora and Riku. Anyways, though, with the rest of the character, because of the clay of how it's like sort of fused all together, I can't remove the head. And that's sort of evidence that you can kind of see that I didn't finish up like the full. Sorry about the brightness, but you can kind of see that I didn't finish up the full detailing on here, and that's because one, the head is fused to the body, so I can't remove it, and two, the tail was like kind of in the way, so I wasn't able to like fully paint on the rest of the detailing. But it doesn't bother me too much. Like since the tail and the hair cover it all up, it's not too big of a deal. Speaking of the tail, since we're back here, this is actually a spare Rocket Raccoon tail that I had in my bin, that I used as the base for Roxanne's tail. And then like you can kind of see for the waist piece, I added on more detailing to start bringing out the brightness again. I added on like the detailing of her belt piece. It was a little tedious to like add this on without having any paint overflow on the rest of the body, but it still came out pretty cool. And for her bracelets and for her belt, I noticed that the small like rhinestone patterning on there is actually a different color from Freddy and Chica's. So for that, I did a metallic black instead. That's the when it's like in the shadow, you can kind of actually see like it's standing out more. But I really like it. I think it looks pretty cool. It adds like more detailing to it, and overall it's very nice. Arms are similar to Chica's, but with a bit more detailing as she's wearing wearing armbands to sort of like match up like her leggings. The leggings down below, well, both the same, just based out with purple and added in like some black stripes for her feet. Just a gray paint, with some purple to add on like her claws, and then similar with Chica, I did like the base detailing for like her waist plate and her chest plate as plates, but did a red base instead. I used a separate gray to do on for the stomach hatch, and then went back in and add in, for like the black detailing for like the star. The face, I do like it. I think it came out alright. Not alright, but I don't know. I think it's the left eye that's bothering me, but one of the eyes looks a little bit off. I don't know, so I'll probably go back and change it. And then with the mouth, like how I did Foxy, I just went ahead and painted the snout, and then just painted on the teeth. Painted on the teeth, because this would have been a nightmare to have tried to make tiny teeth and then individually stick them in the mouth. It would have pissed me off so much, and I probably would have broken it in response. So I'm still practicing with some of this stuff, but for my sanity's sake, I decided to go the easy route and just paint on the teeth. It doesn't look horrible. I don't like horrible though. I do like it. And of course, like finished off painting on the mouth, like with the lipstick, and the nose on top. Same thing with the eyes. Just did a first black for the outlining, then did the white for the sakura. I hope I said that right. Sorry. Then did the gold for the black for the pupil, and then I added on like the eyeliner, because her eyes are kind of halfway closed through most of the game, or you can at least see her eyelids. But overall, apart from that one eye, I still like this figure, and probably one of my favorites when it comes to detailing. Next up on our list, we have Montgomery Gator, or Monty. So this guy, sculpting wise, is my least favorite, and clear as day as why, the teeth. This was the only one that I gave sculpting to the teeth, and I hate it. It's like, you can see, especially on the right side, his teeth kind of merge together, and I tried to fix it, by sculpting out holes in between the teeth, but it wouldn't come out correctly, and it's mostly because when the paint dried, it merged together, and it looks horrible. I hate it. and it's one of the reasons why I'm still practicing like painting wise. I did at least wanted to give him an open mouth, but I should have just gone ahead and just painted on the teeth. And I didn't realize this until after I had finished all the work put into this was then I realized that like I should have done this, done this, and it's going to make me upset every time I look at it. But moving past that, with the rest of the sculpting work, it was done in components as well. I first did half of his head. I then like went back into the mohawk and the snout, and I actually separated the snout in separate components, because I was trying to do something that I did for Kiryu, where you like do teeth on one and then do teeth on the other, then attempt to merge it together. And together again, it didn't come out right, but it's how I learned, so I'll do better in the future. And then like looking in the back, real quick for the back of the head, you can see the mohawk continues all the way down. Back paint and paint is roughly the same, but this time he's got a tail. Like I sculpted on the full tail like all the way down, and actually sculpted on different components, components to represent like the different like colorations that he has for his tail. I then painted on like his scales, because even though the scales are more evident in the game, again, since it's such small like work with pieces here and there, it would have given me a headache to try and sculpt out every tiny scale onto the tail. So I didn't want to give myself a headache from that. And that's arm painting, very similar to Freddy, and similar to Freddy's design. In fact, a majority of the body I feel like is very similar to Freddy, because it's more bulky for the animatronic. Like, for when it comes to like painting on the black wristbands as well as the belts. Same thing with Roxy. That's, you see, I used a metallic black for sort of like the rhinestones, and then like I did a base paint of like mint green and painted on the rest of the parts of the shoulders, and individually did the scales. Same thing on the legs. Like he's got a lot of scale detailing. Detailing that I actually added on before I went back with the black for the outlining, and then like for his claw feet, just base it off with purple, and then tally marks represent his claws. The head, as you can see, I just painted on the sunglasses. I had considered the idea of doing them three-dimensional, but since I wouldn't be able to like take them off, I figured out like, okay, that's kind of pointless. So I went ahead and just painted on the sunglasses. For the lenses, I used a metallic purple to sort of like represent that reflective shine, that you could see like him wearing throughout the game, and they don't look terrible. They're not a too shabby job, but it's definitely gonna practice more in the future. And overall, well, despite the teeth, I'm gonna keep saying it. Despite the teeth being the worst part about this character, I don't hate it. I do like the sculpt work that I did on the head, minus the mouth, and the paint work was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. But for those teeth, I cannot forgive myself for creating these teeth. So I'm gonna practice more in the future and hopefully make a better portrayal of teeth than this sorry excuse. Moving on from the animatronics, we have the main protagonist, the superstar Gregory. So for this one, it was very simple. Like when it comes to painting, it was very simple of like how to approach him. I think like only one of the more difficult tasks was finding like a good facial expression for him. So I went on like Firestar Toys and I found a good head that I felt like matched up perfectly with his overall expression in the game. The hairpiece was based off of the hairpiece is the same as like Lloyd's new hairstyle from Lego Ninjago. I just painted up in brown, which matched up pretty well with his overall style in the game. For the legs, like again like same thing with the torso, like a simple base paint. That I first painted on the skin tone of the legs, and then went back with a light brown to paint up his shorts that go all the way around the base of the figure. I did some red shoes for the base, and then just added in some whites. Again, like pretty simple design here and there. And then same thing on with the back. Like a simple design, but I tried to carry over the lines like from the front of his shirt. I'm sure like looking back over at the shirt. I'm sure as you can see like as you can see like some of the detailing I added in the blue, like two separate blue lines, like a peacock blue as the base, and then went sort of like a sky blue for the lines, and carefully tried to line them up as best I could on each of the sides, on the sides. I then like also did a marker, and did like the acrylic marker to add in on the rest of the detailing for, like the shirt collar, his shirt underneath, and like a bit of like, like the lapels a little bit for his face. Like the majority of the face is about the same, not the same, but it does come like with his band-aid, like on his right cheek. It does come with a second face. Like if we remove this, we can move like on the back. You can see like, like a more scared kind of expression. But what I was trying to paint up with this band-aid on this side is that at first it came out good, but then but then I messed it up a bit and I couldn't fix it. And also, so like with other figures that I've done, the head is stuck. I can't turn it, which really sucks because I initially wanted this whole idea of, like you can rotate the heads to like give off different expressions for like different photos. But I guess since like his character model mostly has this exact same expression, I guess it's alright. Alright. Again, like if I could change up the faces, and to be able to rotate it, then it would come out better. Alright. So overall, this isn't the most detailed figure that I've done for the showcase, but it's a pretty nice like simple design. Was pretty, and was like pretty simple, like again simple, able to get out of the way as fast as I could, and overall pretty fun, pretty fun to make. Our next character with a simple design is the security guard Vanessa. So again, like with Gregory, her design was pretty simple to do, For this one, I printed off a bunch of female torso decals all in base white, and then just painted on the rest of her shirt. Like you can see the detailing continues onto the back a little bit, mostly with the shirt collar. On the front, there's more detailing, kind of like there's a security badge here. There was supposed to be some metallic black that you could see to sort of like represent the badge, but I guess with the star, it sort of covers it up a bit. I carefully tried to do some more detailing on like her shirt collar, and then detailing does continue on to like the side portion of the head, the head to sort of match up her character design, and then just did this button up pattern all the way down, to the shirt. And for the legs, since it was pretty simple, I just went ahead and just did some simple basic black legs, black minifigure legs, and legs as the base. For the head, this is sort of like the Carol Danvers. And Danvers head, like on the front, she's got that sort of like bored kind of expression, and then like we rotate it over a bit more smiling kind of. I think kind of that, again, this was sort of used if I wanted to do some more photo stuff with sort of like the good ending of the game. And then with the hairpiece, I also got this from First Store Toys. Toys of like the dab cap with the ponytail, until he's painted the hat in black, and then mixed a couple of colors together to give the sort of blonde hairstylish color, and painted up for the rest of the character. The biggest takeaway that I definitely wanted to do was to try and paint on security. I tried multiple times to actually write on security on the hats like she does as in the game, but I could not for the life of me get paint on those words on the hats. And the one time I did, the words were all blocky and chunky. I didn't like them, and I couldn't even fit the full word on the hat, So I find, and so with trial and error, I finally just decided to just paint on like a simple white line, and just call it good, I'm not super proud of it. But it's not the worst thing that has come out of this showcase. I've talked about the teeth enough, and I can just move past it. Even though this character didn't really appear that much in the game, I feel like that she was originally gonna have more screen time in the more screen time in the game, and was probably gonna take on a different role than she initially was. But it was still fun to make this one. And again, like with Gregory, it was a simple design to do, but still pretty fun. And last up we have is Vani. So when it came to detailing, finding photo reference for this one was a pain in the ass to get, because apparently this character went through different designs, from like concept arts to official like toy merchandise. And nice. So finding a solid reference for this one was very very hard, and even when looking at gameplay footage of the game it didn't make it any easier because of her weird glitch effect. It's effect that she has whenever she's close to the character. Close to the character. So it was a bit hard to find and like the official design for this one, but I was luckily able to find a good solid one and go ahead with that. So when it came to like painting out for this one, like same thing with Chica, base paint white and white. Like with Vanessa, use the decal for the front, and same thing on the back, which I'll show in a bit. And then when it came to the sculpting, I did the same thing before, but this one was a bit more simplified. Simplified, like sculpted up the head first, and then when it came to sculpting the ears, at first I thought about having them like just straight up, kind of like Bugs Bunny almost, or how she appears like in the game. But they did kind of droop down a bit, and I decided to keep it up with that, of sort of like that drooping effect. In fact, like with the ears, you can kind of see I didn't fully paint them up because since the ears were kind of folded over, it wouldn't make sense to like show it up, especially. Well, you can kind of see it on the back, but it was a little difficult to paint on the rest of it, so I moved past that. For the decal, I actually did the tail first before adding on the decal. So I just cut off the lower part of it and then glued it on with the rest. For painting up, I could not find a single good angle on the back. So I just sort of went with this one blind basically, and did the best I could for the stitching and for like the different fabrics that you can see that she has for a costume. I actually painted them on first. First, like I did a little overlay first, and then just painted on like each of the patches from like the shoulders all the way around the arms and the legs, and as well as the head. And I then went back with the black marker to do sort of like that stitching pattern here and there. The mouth and the head were pretty simplified on just painting on the mouth, and then the teeth do kind of look a little weird. I don't know. It's almost making me think I was trying to make like vampire teeth, kind of. But move past that. You can kind of see like the red tongue that she's got like on the mask. The red eyes. I used sort of shiny red to give out that sort of reflective kind of look. Like painted on the lashes later on. And then with the rest, you can see like the stitching continues on with the head all the way from like the face, goes all the way around like back and the front, around like this patch, like with the patches. I did sort of a brown kind of for like the side patch here, and you can barely see it, but I tried to do sort of like that flannel pattern that she does have for her left glove and also like the side of like her left thigh, but yeah, but unfortunately, I did not realize this until after it had dried, but it blends in too perfectly, like enough to where you can barely see any of the detailing, eh, any of the detailing. So that was like the one takeaway that I got from this. It's just like I could have gone better with this. And then like for her tie, and for like her big tie here, I just painted on with like a regular blue marker. The rest of the detailing is pretty self-explanatory. Here and there, just painting on like the feet and the legs. I can do a little articulation with this one, but I can't really. In fact, every FNAF character that I've made has little to no articulation, because since they're basically supposed to be statues for the majority of the game, you can't even see them move, just like screenshots like from one place all the way to another. I just sort of kept it up with that sort of idea that they would stay in place and then move. With this one, I did want some articulation, but she mostly has it through her arms, which I guess is alright. Is alright for like some screenshots here and there. But overall, well, even though I couldn't find a solid reference to how she looks like in the game, and even though I couldn't find anything for the back, and it was very difficult to get like a good position for the overall design in general, I still like it. And it was fun. It was fun to sort of like tackle on a challenge with something like this. And that is going to do it for this episode of LEGO Arts. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was actually a fun project to do. Like, I haven't done Five Nights at Freddy's in a long time. And back in the day, I initially was going to do more minifigures of this with characters like Ballora, Lefty, and a few other characters from the series. But it came to a point that, and a lot of customizers will go through this, like time and interest that, and like a lot of other stuff like kept coming on at the time with like new projects, gameplays to work on. I think I was still in school so I was working with and it overall came down with like interest that when the opportunities did pop up of where I could have gone back to it, I lost the motivation to go back to do this. And I wanted to do Security Breach because it was sort of like brand new with Fnaf. Even though I technically did a remake on Freddy and Chica, I still wanted to do them. I wanted to do them, like with new characters, with the new designs and everything. I still wanted to tackle it. And with Fnaf, I do want to do more characters of it, but it's come to a point like I need like motivation to like fully go on into it. Because if I try to do characters without it, then the figures won't come out like as great as they could have been. And it could have been like been that so all of these could have come out worse despite the flaws that I did address with each of them. And they could have come out worse than how they look now. And then how they look now. All of them still look good. They still look good despite the flaws. But FNAF is still an idea that I could do in the future. So I still have it as sort of a maybe. And if you're curious, why didn't I do other characters like Sun and Moon, DJ Music Man, Burn Trap, and all the others? It came down to that. I honestly didn't really want to do them because, as with the security bots, there's too many versions of it that I didn't want to pick. And I picked like one, and I didn't want to make remakes. Burn Trap only had one scene and that was in the entire game. They didn't even give him a jump scare. So I didn't even want to do that one. With Moon and Sun, I honestly have no idea how I would approach them. Probably the same way how I did the Marionette from like the second FNAF showcase. But even then, those two would require still more detailing. Still more detailing with them, and I overall don't know how I would do it. So they're like on a maybe. And with DJ Music Man, again, like with Burn Trap, he only has one scene, and he is massive. I would probably approach that one the same way how I approach Bertram from Bendy. But even then, it's still a wonder. I'm still wondering, like, how would I do that one? So again, I do have ideas to do more FNAF characters, but at the moment right now, I don't feel the motivation to do them, so they'll be saved for, like, future projects, in the future. Speaking of, with future showcases, the next few ones won't be as long as the others. My next two are going to be, like, the Batman showcases that I'm going to do. I don't know which one first, but both of them will coming out next. I have plans to remake my Boba Fett minifigure. I'm going to do the Master Chief from Halo. Spider-Man No Way Home is still in the way. Right? And God of War Ragnarok is still in the works. But I've put it on hold. For the time being because I want to at least get more screenshots of characters like Freya and Thor, so I could get like a full an overall idea of how to approach those guys. But overall, that is gonna be it. So if you guys would like to see more videos like this in the future, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for notifications. Welcome last night, like projects, and made that have some fun. So anywho, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, hit that like button, comment below what you think, share your friends, follow me on Twitter, and here's a hell of a road. Thank you guys for watching this time. What do you guys, Moonrisers?